Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from the eternal Skinwalker, out June 28th on RPM. The album has 9 tracks, 60 minutes in length. This is the band's 7th full-length studio album, and they are an Australian gothic metal band. From a design standpoint, this album starts in a very unorthodox way, at least in general, not necessarily from a band's standpoint. The opening track is Abandoned by Hope, a 10-plus minute song. Not many bands would start off a record with a track this size, with this length. Nothing new to them. In their previous record, they had The Wound, that was a 19-plus minute song that opened up that album. So this is nothing really new to the band, but it's going to be new to a listener coming in that perhaps has never heard of this band before, or it's not expecting the album to have those sort of characteristics. Having said that, this is one of my favorite tracks on the album, and it's a song that works really well, not just because of what it offers individually, but because it sets the table and the tone for what the rest of the album is going to be all about. An album that's going to have a lot of twists and turns, an album that has a lot of diversity in it, but finds a way of being cohesive at the exact same time. And when you create that sort of experience, it softens the overall length, because you start to lose track of that, and it's more about being in the moment. And this record is a lot about being in the moment. These songs have great quality, and therefore they create great quality across the collective. It's a very fun album to listen to because it allows you to grow and experience growth with it, and that gives it playability, and that makes the album also memorable. It's not a record that finds itself to be repetitive, that finds itself to be redundant. It's a very fresh album. It doesn't matter if you're listening to it for the first time or the 100th time. There's always going to be something for you to discover that you didn't notice before. As far as the sound is concerned, I think the main characteristic of the sound is that it overall, the record has this blanket, this essence, this vibe of gothic metal. But the sound on this record is a lot more progressive. It's a progressive sounding album through and through, but that progressive sound and the way that it's put together and the way these songs are constructed veers the record from an atmospheric point of view to a more gothic style, to a more gothic approach. This is extremely important for this record to have the energy that it has, to have the cohesiveness that it has, because with all that diversity underneath it, it would be very easy to lose track of where you are and create an album that becomes a little bit more of a collection of songs and less of what the collective could offer. Having the ability to have an overall blanket that stays very consistent in terms of the mood, the vibe, the experience throughout all 9 songs, but then getting to that end result, getting to that finish line in a very different way, song in and song out, definitely brings quality to the record, and it brings great quality to the sound. A sound that's well produced, not overly produced, but well produced. It's the only way that you're going to get the most out of this record. It's the only way you're going to get the texture out of this album and really appreciate all the elements that make this record tick, like the guitars and drums. To me, those are the 2 cornerstones of the overall sound experience that this album offers. If you look at this album perhaps a little bit more from the progressive side, then you have the guitars taking the lead. Not to say that they don't offer some gothic elements in their sound, some dark elements in their sound, they do, but I felt like the more progressive side of this album was better represented by the overall guitar experience that changes, that moves, that has almost a life of its own, really well played, really well executed, giving incredible and unique fingerprints across each and every single track, and even changing the fingerprints within certain moments of songs, which at times had me scratching my head, because it takes you a little bit of time sometimes to just grasp what's happening, what's going on around you, and the guitars had that ability to always have this life of their own within the overall life that this album has. The drums were a little bit different. The drums offer more a sense of always bringing the sound back to its origin. It's also a sound that gives the record a little bit more heaviness, gives the record a little bit more thickness, a little bit more volume. So I felt like the drums had 2 roles here. One was to increase the heaviness and volume in certain tracks of this album that needed more aggression, that needed more intensity, and the other one was to allow the overall songs to feel a little bit better connected. So when the guitars veer off in different directions, the drum sound is that element that brings you back to that starting point, allowing the tracks to, within themselves, stay connected regardless of how many variants there are sound-wise and even from a construction standpoint. So a very important role, a role that's only possible knowing that the album is going to have a little bit more of that progressive backdrop, but you still want to create an overall essence that stays very uniform throughout. When it comes to the vocals, I thought the vocals performance was on point. This is an album that obviously focuses a little bit more on the clean vocals, which are absolutely haunting. They also help define both sides of the spectrum. Actually, they help define the more gothic side of the sound, but they also help define the more progressive side of the sound. I thought sprinkling in some harsh vocals here and there was perfect. You don't need too much of it, you just need enough in order to create some differences, specifically when it comes to the lyrical content, that you're trying to define momentums within the songs, you're trying to add intensity, try to add aggression. Sprinkling in some harsh vocals, it definitely does that. It also adds a little bit more character to the overall vocal performance, but allowing this record to be 85% of it focus on that more clean, haunting, very dark vocal delivery definitely elevates the mood of this album. It defines the mood of this album, and it really helps create what this overall record is all about. Discovering this band with this album just allows me to say that I'm sorry that I didn't listen to this band before. Like, such a phenomenal record, such a well-crafted album, an album that has so much to offer, so much quality. And to me, the best thing I can say about this album is that every time that I listen to this record, I picked up something different about a different song that I hadn't really noticed before. So it's an album that I feel is going to have great shelf life from that standpoint. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with the opening track, that 10+ minute opening song, Abandoned by Hope. Not, like I said, not the longest opening song for an album. As far as the Eternal is concerned, they had The Wound on the previous record, 19+ minutes. So this is definitely not out of the box, but it's slightly out of the box. And it's a heavier sounding track. It's a track that has those harsh vocals sprinkled in. The chorus feels a little bit more melancholic. The clean vocals add a little sense of a more haunting atmosphere to the track. And it's a track that has mood swings between the heavier side of the sound and the more melancholic side of the sound. It's a track, because of the movement that it has and the swings that it has, it allows those 10 minutes to feel like 5 minutes. It's a song that moves really well, that has great playability from start to finish, and at times you even forget that you're listening to this song until the chorus rolls back in again, because you think you moved on to a different track, and then the chorus rolls back in, and that's what's bringing you back to your origins, to your starting point. It's a great opening song, not just because it's a great song, but like I said earlier, it's a song that really sets the table, the tone for what the whole album is going to be all about. Then you have Under the Black. I really like the keys, because the keys at the beginning of this track set a melodic tone that becomes redefined, or better defined, I should say, with the acoustic guitars that follows. And the acoustic guitars add a lot of texture, a lot of darkness, and also a lot of melody. It's a song that feels very melancholic because the melody that it has offers that sort of experience, and it's a song that moves very methodically, at least in the first third. Then, once you lose that stripped down effect of the acoustic guitars, once you strip down that more melancholic, melodic approach, the track, once it hits the chorus, it gets bigger, it gets heavier, it gets thicker, and it stays pretty much consistent to that going forward. Vocally is very balanced. It's a lot more balanced vocally than it is musically, but the two last thirds of the song do not change that much. That sense of heaviness, that sense of volume, that sense of thickness really stays true almost until the end, because the last moments of this song, there is a return to the origins, and the track goes full circle. Last but not least, Fall Upon the Earth. This is a very dark, somber song from the opening. It just has that essence to it. The guitar sound is excellent. The vocals, the layers that the vocals have, add to that sense of darkness, because it creates depth, it creates texture, it creates size, but the size that it creates is not a sense of heaviness, but rather a sense of darkness. And it's a song that has movement, gets bigger, gets heavier. The guitars always stay connected. They are always the guiding light of where this song is taking you. I feel like the guitars on this track kind of work as a red line that allows you to see not just the start but the middle and the end, and you stay connected because you hold on to that guitar sound, and that's what's going to take you all the way through, because it changes. Not that the guitar sound is the same throughout. The guitar sound changes, but the quality of the guitar sound, what it offers, the beauty, the experience that it gives, it's so unique to this track, and it's so mesmerizing that even with the changes that have come through, you're still connected to that same guitar sound. You're still connected to those guitars. The solo is tremendous, and the drums behind the solo really help push the solo forward. It feels like it's a track that's guitar centric, with everything working around what the guitars are doing in order to bring them into the forefront and enhancing what they have to offer. This is it, The Eternal with Skinwalker, out June 28th on RPM. Hit me up in the comment section, let me know your thoughts. I'll see you all at the next one. Take care, guys.